FM.
It's midday. Good afternoon and thanks for making time for the news on 3FM 92.7. My name is Godwin Asideba. We are coming to you live from our studios here at Adisewe Kanda in Accra and the numerous affiliates across the country. In Tamale, we are live on Kesme 107.1 FM and around the world. We are streaming live on 3news.com. The headlines this afternoon: Appointment Committee of Parliament vets President's nominees for justices of the Supreme Court as tax clearance records for nominee Henry Anthony Kofi is flagged for irregularities by Minority Leader Dr. Kazel Atuforsan. We have details on this shortly. Also, this afternoon, Electoral Commission under intense scrutiny after its inability to hold district-level elections in some electoral areas. This afternoon, we will be live at Kadelso electoral area in the Kintampo North Municipality, where polls are currently ongoing. And elsewhere in Africa, voting underway in general elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. We have details of these and some other stories coming your way in the next 30 minutes if you stay with us. Thank you very much for your time. We'll take the details now. On Tuesday, December 19, 2023, voters went to the polls in the district level elections to elect assembly and unit committee members. But some voters in some electoral areas were disappointed as the process had to be postponed. In several electoral areas in the Ashanti region and the Eastern region, owing to non-readiness of the Electoral Commission officials and anomalies in the electoral materials. This meant that most eligible voters who were eager to exercise their civic duty had to return home disappointed. In the Kadelso electoral area in the Kintampo North Municipality, voting is expected to take place today after it was called off on Tuesday, December 19. Well, let's go on phone and speak to Adam Wumpini, who is a local journalist there, and I understand that he is on the line to give us details on the back of those. Adams, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Gordon.
Why was the polls called off on Tuesday?
According to the Electoral Commission Director here at Kintampo Municipality, the polls was called off because there was a swapping of the ballot positions of some two aspirants at the Kadelso electoral area. So you have the aspirant number one position being replaced with a picture of the one who is supposed to be aspirant number three. So that was the reason why they postponed the elections to sort out the issue before the election continued today. So as we speak right now, elections is currently ongoing at the Kadelso electoral area in the Kintampo North Municipality peacefully.
So how many candidates are expected to cast their vote, and at what time will the voting end?
We have close to 1,000 candidates who are expected to vote, but the turnout as I speak right now is currently low because as at the time I visited the area some 30 minutes ago, only about 153 persons had cast their votes, and it looks as though the people are not coming out in their numbers to vote, but we are still expecting more voters to come out in their numbers and cast their votes. But as we speak right now, the turnout is low.
Right. Thank you very much. We have been speaking with Adam Wumpini, reporting live from Kintampo, bringing us up to speed with happenings there. And he has been indicating that as of now, 153 people have cast their vote there. Let's also engage with a local governance expert, Dr. Frederick Ejako Odro, who is also going to let us understand what repercussions this will bring to the electoral system. Doc, your general assessment of the process so far, with some electoral areas in the Ashanti and Eastern regions expected to vote on Thursday, December 21.
Well, I think it is not a fatal challenge to the system. It is very, very unfortunate because even if they had known that the challenge was going to come up and had given indication for people not to waste time traveling to go and vote, only to turn up and meet the challenges they did, it would have been helpful. And it is going to worsen the already low turnout we have experienced. Because if you have people traveling distances and they get there and they can't vote, it's very possible when you ask them to come and vote again, a lot of people will not bother to come because of the cost implication alone and then time constraints alone. So this is going to affect overall turnout. I think that there still remains an opportunity for people to decide on who should represent them. So that, ameliorates the situation that we see ourselves. But let me add that district level election is more complicated than national level election. Okay. And for instance, we've seen such a case in the instant case of Kintampo that you just spoke about. The whole problem was to do with just a swap of positions of the candidates in the notice of poll compared to what is going to appear on the electoral on the ballot paper.
All right, Dr. Odro, so what does this say about the Electoral Commission's level of importance to the district level elections?
You see, it tells you the complexity of local level elections and the number of people involved in the process. The commission is a human institution. It can make genuine mistakes. For instance, just the swap of positions. This cannot happen in a national election. I don't foresee this happening in a national election. But if we are to understand the complexity and the complications associated with district level elections and consider the number of candidates and number of areas being used for the election. You see, in this case, the electoral areas, we are electing an assembly member for each single electoral area in the country, which is about 7,000 plus. And if you compare that to if you are electing 275 members of parliament, or even you are electing a single president for the whole country, you print all the ballot papers and it's for the whole nation.
But Doc,
you print all the
this again has brought to the need to make the district assembly partisan to improve turnout. Should Ghana now seriously consider that?
I am all for that.
Okay.
I am absolutely in favor of allowing the political parties to be active in local governance. I want to see having different, I really would call for total reform of the local governance system. That we allow citizens elect directly their own chief executives and assembly members on partisan lines. That is my stance. I believe that will be more effective than the current system we are practicing.
All right, Doc, thank you very much for your time. We have been speaking to Dr. Frederick Ejako Odro, who is a local governance expert. Still on matters of elections and the proposal by Ghana's elections management body to close polls by 3 p.m. instead of the usual 5 p.m. in the 2024 polls has received mixed reactions. whilst the Electoral Commission insists that the creation of more polling stations will reduce the number of people, thereby ensuring polls close early. Others believe that the proposal is not well thought through. A professor of law, Kweku Asari, is questioning the Electoral Commission's proposal to close polls at 3 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. Speaking on Ghana Tonight on TV3, Professor Azaz said the EC must provide scientific data to show that closing at the proposed date would be ideal for Ghana's democracy.
That those laws, before they are made, follow some process. First of all, the EC cannot just announce a proposal. The EC has to actually put something in writing, an exposure draft. Circulate that exposure draft to all stakeholders. Set a comment window. Give people about 3 months to bring them comments. Then distill those comments and hold hearings. Let people actually come and talk to you so that you can have questions and answers. After those hearings, then the EC members vote on the proposal.
Well, that was a professor of law, Kweku Asari, questioning the proposals by the Electoral Commission to close polls at 3 p.m. in 2024 general elections. And here at the Election Command Center, you should trust us to bring you up to speed with all happenings as far as the election is concerned. Well, the Appointments Committee of Parliament is vetting Supreme Court Justice nominees. The nominated justices are Henry Anthony Kofi, Yao Dakwasari, and Richard Ejay Frimpong. They were nominated by President Akufo-Addo to fill vacant positions of the Supreme Court bench. Justice Henry Anthony Kofi is first to appear before the Appointment Committee. Here are excerpts of events as Justice Henry Anthony Kofi appeared before Parliament's Appointment Committee. He first responded to a question on Article 71, office holders and the payment of ex gratia.
Judges do not take ex gratia every 4 years, and which is the correct position. As I sit here now, I am on 2020 salary. I don't know about MPs, but as I sit here, I and all my colleagues are on the salary determined by the committee that finished its work in 2020 and came out with a salary. So as I sit here, including Her Ladyship, the Chief Justice, we are all on 2020 salary. 2021, 2022, we are in 2023.
Not even cola.
Honorable member, you know that some people took cola. We haven't taken anything. So next, I know the president has set up another committee as required under Article 71. Now, if the committee comes out and says next year that in 2021, because obviously it has to start from 2020. In 2021, what you should actually have taken was this 5% over what you were taking in 2022, 2023, 2024. That is how the progression is done. And then the difference is paid to me. That is what I should actually have taken. I think if we want to do it the right way, we should forget about this one,
my Lord,
and pay ourselves every year.
My Lord, you are preaching to the converted in this matter. We are all in the same super zone.
I'm very careful. I don't know about what MPs take.
That was Justice Henry Anthony Kofi when he appeared before Parliament's Appointment Committee. My colleague Duman Opoko is there and joins me with more details. Duke, what else have the committee members been asking Justice Henry Anthony Kofi, and what have been his responses so far?
Well, wide variety of questions, ranging from his work as judge, to questions about how the judiciary can reduce the workload that it has to do, as to whether there should be an upper ceiling for a number of judges that are appointed to the Supreme Court. He believes that as per convention, the number of 16, which is what the Supreme Court operates with, it's fine. It shouldn't be expanded. He was also asked about whether there are political judges. He says no, there are no political judges, and as far as he's concerned, every judge does their job with high level of professionalism, as it is expected of them. Again, he was also, another interesting issue came up in relation to his tax clearance certificate. It was determined, or in fact, they found out that there were irregularities with his tax clearance certificate. which reflected that he had not been working for a while and so had not been paying some taxes. So the minority, together with the leadership of the committee, are writing to the GRA to come clean on those issues in relation to his taxes as to whether he's indeed been paying taxes or there was a mistake. His vetting has just ended. The committee took a break and then they are now back to vet the two other nominees.
Which other justices' nominees will also be vetted by the committee?
There is Court of Appeal Judge Yauda Kwansare, as well as another Court of Appeal judge who is being elevated to the Supreme Court if all is cleared. The same is to the Great Court. So all of them are from the Court of Appeal and they are being vetted. If all goes clear, they will be voted upon by a report that will be presented to the plenary, and then they can take up their seat at the Supreme Court.
But what's next after the vetting?
The committee will put together their report and present it to the plenary, which is the entire parliament to be debated and either voted upon or passed by consensus.
All right, thank you. That was my colleague Mensa Opoku reporting on the vetting of justice nominees to the Supreme Court. Let's delve into our other issues. And the National Communications Authority's push to be exempted from a case filed by Onua TV has failed. The court says the NCA must remain a part of the case in which the media organization is accusing the National Media Commission of not following due process in its push to have Onua TV's operation licenses suspended.
Lawyers for the National Communications Authority had argued it ought to be exempted from the case. Its lawyers stated that the case filed by Onua TV does not state any conduct by any of its officers that makes its inclusion in the case necessary. The media organization is in court seeking to restrain the National Media Commission from taking any steps that adversely affects its operations. This suit came in the wake of the NMC asking the NCA to suspend Onua TV and Onua FM's license. Lawyers for Onua TV maintain the move is contrary to law since they were not granted a fair hearing. They also urged the court to dismiss the NCA's exemption request, insisting it had received various letters from the NMC. They also added that the NCA has the legal mandate to suspend licenses under appropriate circumstances. The High Court agreed with this view, dismissing the NCA's request. The case is back in court on January 17, 2024.
The trial of CEO of defunct gold leadership firm Men's Gold is set to commence today at the Financial and Economic Court 1 of the Accra High Court. Nanapia Mensah, also known as Nam1, has pleaded not guilty to various charges leveled against him. We will head to court shortly, but first, a bit of background on this case. We know that the accused persons are Nanapia Mensah alias Nam1. We know Men's Gold Ghana Limited and Brew Marketing Consult Ghana Limited. Well, Nam1 pleaded not guilty and entered a not guilty plea on behalf of his companies as well. The charges are 39 counts of selling gold without alliances, operating a deposit-taking business without alliances, inducement to investment, defrauding by false pretense, fraudulent breach of trust, and money laundering. My colleague Lord Eduosare has been following this issue and joins us with details on the back of it. Lord, can you hear me? Hello, Lord.
Godwin, hi, I can hear you.
Yeah, so what more do we know about this issue?
Well, Godwin, so the case will start in about 10 minutes, but as I speak to you, the courtroom is packed with Men's Gold customers who are anticipating the much-awaited trial, which has been spanning for almost 5 years, I should say. We know that Nam1 is facing 39 counts of operating a gold collecting firm without a license, several counts of money laundering, and breach of trust. Now, the judge is saying that he's actually proposed that the accused person can take the plea bargain. Today, we are expecting to hear the first witness, who is Stephen Atipo, to testify. Now, the prosecution are saying that they're going to call 11 witnesses in total after today. If the first witness is not able to finish his witness testimony, it's going to go into January. And the judge has also stated that in January, we're going to have a daily trial of Nam1's case. This was something that the prosecution, if you recall, stated that they'll be doing. The Deputy Attorney General, Albert Chayaba, said that they'll be hoping to push for a daily trial of Nam1's case. And so we should go by the timeline that has been put out, this is what is going to be happening.
Right. Thank you for your time. Lord Eduasare is our court correspondent. Let's do education now. And as of 2021, 596,949 kindergarten pupils, 1.3 million primary pupils, and over 425,000 junior high school pupils did not have seatings to writing spaces. This according to data from the Education Ministry has been saying. The desk situation in Ghana's basic schools is said to be worsening. My colleague Frederick Kunzote Tiani has joined me with details on this. And Frederick, can you hear me?
Yes.
The numbers, how important is it to have them addressed quickly?
So according to the Africa Education Watch, they are saying that these numbers are skyrocketing by the day. These are data from 2020. So if you can imagine from 2020 to now 2023, the figures have skyrocketed to more than that, which they will soon bring out. And what they are saying that these figures is affecting the level and the quality of education we are seeing in the country, because several studies have indicated that although the lack of school infrastructure, including desks, affect both boys and girls, girls are more likely to miss classes or drop out of school due to this challenge. Because in a situation where girls have to sit on the floor, that is the classroom floor for studies, they become overly self-conscious about their posture in order not to expose themselves. They also mentioned that the absence of desks in school could expose girls to a higher risk of gender-based violence and harassment, as sitting on the floor or in an unstructured environment can make them more vulnerable to unwanted attention or harassment from their peers or even teachers. So they are calling on government and the various stakeholders, such as the Ministry of Education and corporate bodies, as well as local governments, to, as a matter of fact, come out with 6 recommendations. They are saying that the Ministry of Education must allocate at least 70% of the funds to infrastructure, and they must also prioritize infrastructure at the basic education level. And they are also asking the Ministry of Education and the district authorities to commit to the policy of ensuring that no basic school infrastructure contract is awarded without the full component of this of school furniture, including desks and chairs. So these are the demands of the Africa Education Watch, according to their study report on the impact of debt deficits in public basic schools on girls' participation in basic education in Ghana, happening here at the University of Ghana campus.
All right, thank you very much for the details, Frederick. And yeah, just like you heard him say, it's actually an issue that needs urgent attention as far as education is concerned, especially for the girl child as well. Well, if you just tuned in, you are listening to Midday Live here on 3FM 92.7 with me, Godwin Asideba. A recap of our headlines. Appointment Committee of Parliament vets President's nominees for justices of the Supreme Court as tax clearance records for nominee Henry Anthony Kofi is flagged for irregularities by Minority Leader Dr. Kazel Atu-Forsen. Also in the bulletin, Electoral Commission under intense scrutiny after its inability to hold district-level elections in some electoral areas. This afternoon, we heard from our correspondent in Kintampo, who has indicated that voting is underway at the moment, but generally it has been poor due to the number of people who have come there to cast their votes. And elsewhere on the international front, in Africa, voting underway in general elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah, and if you just tuned in, you are listening to Midday News here on 3FM 92.7. And we proceed with more stories, and we will be going to the Ashanti regional capitals. And NPP parliamentary candidate aspirants have begun picking their nomination forms at the various constituencies in the Ashanti region as the ruling party opens nomination ahead of January 2027 primaries. Bekwai constituency will be one of the focal points because retired Commissioner of Police Alex Mensah faces a stiffer opposition from the son of the former MP Ralph Opoku Edusei, and we will be bringing you details on this subsequently, where my colleague William Evans Inkum will be joining us. Hopefully, when you get to log on to 3news.com, you get to have a better understanding of this new development. Also, we know that at least 50% of water produced by the Ghana Water Company Limited for the Abuabo district of the Ashanti region cannot be accounted for owing to illegal connection. To reduce incidents of non-revenue water, the Ashanti North branch of the water company has begun to clamp down on households whilst intensifying education as well. And yeah, that's the updates there. But on the international front, voting is underway in general elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Some 44 million people are expected to pick the next president from a field of 19 candidates. President Felix Tshisekedi is asking the electorate to give him a second chance. This is only one round of voting, and the winner will be a candidate with the most votes. But insecurity in parts of the country coupled with logistical challenges tell another story. DR Congo sits on vast reserves of cobalt, currently a vital part of many lithium batteries, seen as essential to a future free of fossil fuels. The success of this election could go some way towards enhancing stability in the country and ensure that the metal is extracted in a safe way that benefits the Congolese people. And to China now, where rescue efforts for survivors of an earthquake that has killed at least 131 people in China's northwest are coming to an end. Authorities on Wednesday said they were wrapping up operations and would now focus on treating the injured and helping those who lost their homes. The 6.2 magnitude quake hit Gansu province on Monday night, injuring nearly 1,000 people in the momentous region. Thousands of workers have been operating in sub-zero temperatures. And just as you've indicated, there are really sad times in that part of the world. And if you're just tuned in, this is Midday Live on 3FM 92.7. A recap of our headlines again. Appointment Committee of Parliament vets presidents, nominees for justices of the Supreme Court as tax clearance records for nominee Henry Anthony Kofi is flagged for irregularities by Minority Leader Dr. Kezala Forcing. And also in the bulletin, Electoral Commission under intense scrutiny after its inability to hold district-level elections in some electoral areas. I was personally on the ground somewhere in Kole-Klote and also in the Ayawaso North constituency, where you could clearly see that there was low turnout of people who came out to cast votes on a day where most of them have been saying that they would have to go to work, or they were suggesting that it could have been a half-day work for most people to close early to be able to come in to cast their votes. But yeah, those were some of the concerns that most of the constituents were raising, and the reasons why most of them were unable to visit the polling stations to cast their votes. Elsewhere on the international front, we made you know that voting is underway in the general elections in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Well, that's it for the news this afternoon with me, Godwin Asideba. The more news updates if you log on to 3news.com. Don't forget to get interactive with us on all our social media platforms at 3FM 92.7. Please stick your dial to here and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome to today's edition of Business Daily. Coming up, Ghana's economy grows by 2% in third quarter of 2023, slowest rate in 2 years as industry contracts by 4.3%. We'll hear from the government statistician.
From a sectoral point of view, we continue to see the dominance of the services sector. The services sector commanded 42.1% of the basic prices GDP oil perspective in the third quarter 2023.
Also, Africa Center for Retirement Research projects 25% increase in monthly pensions from January 2024. We'll hear from its executive director.
We are projecting that monthly pensions will be increased by at least 25% for each pensioner. That is the fixed rate.
And National Insurance Commission moves to address risks to insurance sector stemming from climate change through introduction of framework. My name is Menuafo. We have the details of these headlines and many more stories lined up for you. Stay with us. Thank you so much for your time. Let's start off with Ghana's economy, which has expanded by 2% in the third quarter of 2023 compared to 2.7% same period last year. The growth was driven by agriculture growing by 5.9% and services by 5.5%. Industry, however, contracted by 4.3%. Professor Samuel Kobna Enim is government statistician.
The third quarter 2023, the final value of goods and services for the economy was 212.4 billion Ghana cedis, increasing by 60 billion Ghana cedis compared to the same time period in 2022, that is the third quarter of 2022. From a constant GDP perspective, a real GDP perspective, the final value of goods and services for the third quarter of 2023 was 44.7 billion Ghana cedis, increasing from 43.9 billion Ghana cedis in the same time period, third quarter 2022. With these two different values between the third quarter 2022 and the third quarter 2023, the economy grew by 2.0% year-on-year quarterly GDP, third quarter 2022 compared to third quarter 2023. This growth rate of 2.0% signifies a 0.7 percentage point drop as the economy grew by 2.7% between the third quarter 2021 and the third quarter 2022. From a sectoral point of view, we continue to see the dominance of the services sector. The services sector commanded 42.1% of the basic prices GDP oil perspective in the third quarter 2023. This was followed by the industry sector commanding 33.0% of the total oil GDP at basic prices and agriculture 24.9% for the third quarter of 2023.
And that over there was government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim. Away from that, the Africa Center for Retirement Research has projected a 25% increase in monthly pensions on January 2024. According to Executive Director of the Center, Mashood Abdallah, the increase is attributable to the high inflation rates recorded in 2023.
The fixed rate is equivalent to the annual average inflation of the previous year. For instance, you will recall that in the year 2020, average inflation was 31.47%. So accordingly, a fixed rate of 19% was distributed or was given to each pensioner. As at November 2023, inflation is averaging 42%. Based on the provisions of the Social Security Law, the practices of the scheme in the past coupled with the demographic and economic analysis of the scheme, we are projecting that monthly pensions will be increased by at least 25% for each pensioner. That is the fixed rate.
Mashood Abdullah is Executive Director of the Africa Center for Retirement Research. And on to more stories. The Chief Executive Officer of MTN Mobile Money Limited, Shaibu Haruna, has reassured patrons of mobile money services that managers of the service are committed to ensuring fairness for all stakeholders within the ecosystem. In a bid to advocate for what they describe as fair compensations, mobile money agents across the country temporarily capped cash withdrawals at a maximum of 1,000 cedis per transaction effective December 1, 2023.
According to CEO of MTN Mobile Money Limited, active stakeholder engagements are currently ongoing to resolve agents' compensation issues in such a way that will promote equity.
There are a couple of engagements that are happening. You know we have to balance the risks around customer. We have to manage the relationship in terms of the customer taking the burden, and we have to also ensure that there's also a balance in terms of what the agent is also earning. So there are a number of things we need to balance in order to make sure that the ecosystem is sustainable. We can't, at this point, be able to have a firm agreement, but we are working with them to work out modalities on how we resolve the issue.
While eager to ensure fair agent compensation, managers are also cautious not to burden subscribers and jeopardize the hard-won success of financial inclusion in the country.
It's a concern that we appreciate, but we also have engaged them on the basis that we need to look at it in a much more broader sense in terms of its impact on customers and also the entire ecosystem. We don't want to take an action which would also discourage people from also participating and deepening financial inclusion in Ghana. So we have to judge and make sure that whatever we decide will be in the best interest of customers, agents, as well as the overall sustainability of the business.
That was Chief Executive Officer of MTN Mobile Money Limited, Shaibu Haruna. Also, to address risks stemming from climate change, the Acting Commissioner of the National Insurance Commission, Michael Kofi Ando, has disclosed an upcoming release of a framework promoting the use of technology and innovation for industry growth. This framework, the Commissioner believes, will empower insurance companies to capitalize on the emerging opportunities associated with climate change.
The environment is fast changing. Climate change is certainly a risk that we can no longer ignore. But climate change does not just bring risks. It brings opportunities for which insurance companies need to strategize to take advantage of. Whereas advancement in technology and artificial intelligence is expected to transform insurance service delivery, it exposes the industry to cybersecurity risk, a risk that also needs immediate attention. The National Insurance Commission, in recognition of the above, is working on and will soon issue an environmental, social, and governance framework and a cybersecurity directive to enable the industry in the deployment of technology and innovation to facilitate growth.
You heard the voice of the Acting Commissioner of Insurance at the National Insurance Commission, Michael Kofi Ando, bringing us to the end of Business Daily here on 3FM 92.7. Kindly log on to www.3news.com for more business stories. My name is Menu Afo. Do stay tuned. Black Rasta will soon join in with Urban Blend.